Hi, I'm Laura Cathcart-Robbins, and I am the host and creator of the podcast, Only One in the Room. Every week, my co-host Scott Slaughter and I invite you to join us and lose yourself in someone's Only One story. The Only One in the Room has a wide variety of guests, from prisoners to abuse survivors to swingers. With 21 seasons and counting, we guarantee that Only One in the Room will have a story that you'll connect with. This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt alone in a room full of people, which is to say that this podcast is for everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Just keep it simple.
I'm making the promo.
Just keep it simple. Just say, hey, we're the Brav Bros. Two guys that talk about Bravo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're the Brav Bros.
No.
Oh.
Dude, stop with the voice. Just keep it simple.
I've seen promos on TV, dude. This is how you get the fans engaged. This is how you get listeners. We're trying to get listeners here. If we just say, oh, we're two dudes that talk about Bravo, people are going to get tired of it already. We need some oomph.
All right, then fine. Let's try to do it with your voice.
Brav Bros.
Good job.
Lez hang out. Let's hang out. And let's talk about what Lez is about. Let's hang out. And let's listen to two lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Lez hang out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Lez Hang Out. I'm Ellie Brigida.
And I'm Leigh Holmes Foster, and here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom.
This week in the Lesdom is a place where we can touch base each episode about things going on with the podcast or otherwise. In season 7, we are releasing Patreon bonus episodes. Our most recent one was on The Fallout, starring Jenna Ortega, and we got some thoughts on it. I will give you a little spoiler.
Just a super happy movie.
It's a little depressing.
Yeah.
That one's quite depressing. And the episode right before that was The Kids Are Alright, but we have currently 19 bonus episodes. So if you're on the fence and you're like, I need more Lez Hang Out content, join our Patreon at bit.ly/LezPatreon.
In the greater Lez universe, we want to talk about a couple different things. The first one is A Simple Favor 2. Is that a real thing that's happening?
Oh, it's happening. It has been confirmed.
Wow. When is that coming out?
Okay, so it's back, and it is coming back. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't have an official release date, but people are saying late 2024 or early 2025.
Wow.
And
okay, we gotta move A Simple Favor 1 up our should have been gay list.
high up the list.
Yeah.
Also, most recently, they've added Alice and Janney to the cast. So,
incredible. Incredible.
For
I love her so much.
That. It's going to be great. Also, in the Greater Lez universe, Leigh, I don't know if you've seen this, but there is Fletcher and Shannon collectively are stirring up some real gay shit right now.
No, tell me about it.
So let me tell you everything. So first of all, from the beginning, you know that Fletcher was dating Shannon, also
Yes.
known as Now This Is Living. They had the whole thing. They broke up. Becky's so hot about Shannon's new girlfriend, right? Then Shannon and Becky broke up. And then Shannon decided to start a podcast called X's and O's, right?
Sure, yes.
And chaotically dropped a podcast episode with Fletcher. They have not spoken in 4 years.
Wow.
And on this podcast, they were like, we did have one conversation prior to this podcast, but they decided, I'm like, how fucking chaotic and gay is this? They decided, you know what? People are asking us to talk. So they have a 2-part podcast series where they talk and they tell everyone how their relationship started. They talk about, like, Becky's so hot. Like, they talk about everything to each other, sitting, like, dangerously close on Shannon's bed.
Wow.
I watched it because it's a audio podcast, but also they have a YouTube video of it. If you watch the YouTube video, but like all the gays are freaking the fuck out, and I understand because the second I saw it, I was like, I'm watching this. I need to know all the details.
I have somehow missed all of this, and I will be doing some deep diving.
You have
Don't
to,
worry.
and then to add on top of it, Fletcher was on the cover of Gay Times, and she's like, she posts a picture on Instagram. It's like, my cover of Gay Times shot by my ex, and it's a picture of Shannon taking the pictures of her for the cover of Gay Times.
Incredible.
Wow.
Okay.
It was wild.
Also, in the Greater Lez universe, Top Chef Season 21 is out, has premiered, and it is now hosted by Kristen Kish, who is a super hot Korean American chef, and also big old lesbian.
Huge lesbian. Has
Huge
been a big proponent, has been a gay icon for a while, so it's exciting to see her.
Super exciting.
Coming up in the
so
ranks.
Listen, if you maybe like me, I used to be super into Top Chef, maybe circa 2012. I feel like I went through a big Top Chef phase and then kind of got out of it. But there's no better time to get back into your Top Chef era than right now with a hot lesbian host. So just think about it, y'all. That's all.
Speaking of hot lesbians, Kristen Stewart, has been having a moment. Love Lies
Oh,
Bleeding.
is she? Is she doing something? Haven't heard about it.
But most recently, she was on Seth Meyers and gave Seth Meyers a lesbian makeover, which was absolutely hilarious. I feel like I watched it and I was like, he doesn't look gay enough. Then she put a beanie on him. I was like, all right.
There you go.
Success. But
it doesn't take much. Slap a beaner on that man, and
that's it.
Beaner and a beanie. That's all you need.
That's all you need. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Amazing. That's what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Leigh.
Thanks, Ellie and Leigh, and welcome to our 123rd installment of Should've Been Gay.
Oh, it was fun, it was great, but it should have been a little more gay.
And in this week's episode, laudable lesbians laughing and launching our labyrinthine lectures at large.
I should have known you would.
Podcast.
You would love the literary components.
Yes, yeah. I love some of his dialogue. It's so good.
Yes.
It's so good. If for anyone who didn't get it from just that, we're obviously talking about V for Vendetta. When did this come out? 2004?
2005.
I should look it up. 2005 hit film V for Vendetta. It's funny, this has been on our list for a while. Actually, I feel like people suggest this to us.
Yes.
A decent amount.
Which is so interesting because I'm like, I can see why it's gay, and maybe we'll discuss a little bit more. But yeah. I was having to stretch a little bit of my brain. Maybe I'm just not in the right queer mindset for this film. I feel like I guess we can talk about it. The queerness of it is more thematic.
Yeah.
But then I'm also, I don't know. Well, I'm like, V actually is a pretty fucking gay character, let's be real. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But when I first was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and watch this, I was like, oh, question mark. And then you sit down and watch it and you're like, all right, I can see some gay shit, because we can see gay shit and everything. So I'm interested to see where this goes,
From the get-go, this is a Wachowskis film, right?
Yes.
So,
which is the season of Wachowskis for us right now.
This is the season of Wachowskis for us right now. I'm kind of digging it.
I mean, we just did our next episode coming out is going to be Bound, Les Essentials. So I'm like, and we recorded it prior to recording this. So I'm like, we're on a Wachowski kick.
Zone.
Yeah.
we are in the Wachowskis era of our podcasting careers, and I love that for us.
I'm here for it.
So it's listen, there is no not queer Wachowskis project, right?
True.
Doesn't exist. Granted, this is a Wachowskis that is not purely their brainchild, right? Like V for Vendetta was based on a graphic novel, something like that. I think a graphic novel. That was, and so then this was sort of turned into the movie. I haven't read the graphic novel. Have you?
I have definitely not. No.
Okay. I should sometime. I'm curious. I'm always curious with film adaptations to go back and read the source and see what I think. But for now, for anyone who has read the graphic novel, tell us your thoughts after the episode about what's different or how this jives, because we're going to be focusing solely on the movie, the classic Natalie Portman movie, right? Have we done a ton of Natalie Portman?
Good question.
I don't think we have.
I mean, we've never talked about Black Swan, which I think is pretty, we really should talk about.
I feel like that's on our list as well. We just haven't gotten there yet.
Because I'm, thinking of the Natalie Portman of it all. I'm like, I feel like on a more deeper dive, like not deeper dive, but like sillier thing, we could do what's the one, like Just Friends or whatever, like that she did.
Oh no,
Friends
is
with
Friends with
Benefits,
Benefits something different?
whichever
Is that what
one.
you're
No,
thinking
it's
of?
whichever one she was in. There was like two of the same movies that
Yeah,
came
yeah.
out.
I feel like that happened for a while through, especially the aughts, where it was like you'd have two of the exact same movie that came out simultaneously, and yeah, like the names would be something like that, like Friends with Benefits or like Just Friends. Like,
Oh, it's
they're
No Strings Attached.
and there is a movie called Friends with Benefits, right?
Yes. Yes.
Of course there is.
There
Of course there is. Did they come out like within 2 years of each other?
Yeah, super close. But I'm like, I mean, I feel like I have I know that people have mixed feelings about the Star Wars 1, 2, and 3, but like for me, the like that's where some of my Natalie Portman love had started with Queen Amidala, you know? Like
You know what's funny? I feel like for me, I was never like yes, the prequels came out at a certain era in my life, but I feel like what is most prominent to me at the time is that era was sort of like right as I was realizing I was into girls. And like Natalie Portman physically is not kind of my type, you know?
yeah.
And so I feel like at the time where I was like, you know, oh, you'd like cut out like magazine pictures and like make like I had a huge collage of just like things on the back of my door like cut out for magazines. And you can sort of see the journey from like where it started at an age before I had realized to like it's like, oh, like all the hot hunky guys that all my friends are talking about, like, yeah, I'll put them up. Sure, like here's all their hot hunky photos. And then it starts being like, no, I'm just like super into the Star Wars prequels, or I'm just like super into Keira Knightley and Pirates of the Caribbean, or I'm just like super into like Hermione and Harry Potter. Like, you know, it's not that they're girls. It's just like I'm just
you
really
just
into
love
this stuff.
this movie. Yeah, you love the movies. Yeah.
So I for sure had like Natalie Portman like on my wall being like, yeah, no, I love the prequels. Like they're so fun. And I'm like, I think I saw each movie like
such
maybe
great
once.
Films. Such great films. Yeah.
I'll take
But
your word
it's
for
Natalie.
it.
It's Natalie. No. I'm being facetious.
Natalie, I salute you for your help in my coming out process. You know, it's just it's important. You gotta have people to look
Yes.
to. Look
And
at,
she is
look
quite-
to. One of those.
Yeah. She is quite queer in this film. So
Everyone is.
let's
Yeah.
dive in.
Let's start, as always, with our IMDb synopsis, my favorite part. The IMDb synopsis for V for Vendetta is as follows. In a future British dystopian society, a shadowy freedom fighter known only by the alias of V plots to overthrow the tyrannical government with the help of a young woman.
All right. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Take it. It's a decent thing. Yeah, in terms of making it gay, for me, it's a little bit lengthy, but here we go. So, first of all, is not every freedom fighter queer?
Yes.
Also, is not, I don't know why I'm saying is not, but is not every film with Natalie Portman falling in love with a, let's say, genderqueer
Yeah.
character, a gay awakening of sorts.
Yeah.
So those are my two things, like the queer overtones of like overthrowing a tyrannical government, and then also you have this queer love story between a shadowy figure that Natalie Portman's character, that Evie can't even really fully kiss in whatever form is under the mask, right? Just, it's very queer. Their love story is very queer coded to me. So those are the two, I think, paths I'm choosing to focus on, and why is V for Vendetta gay? What about you, Leigh?
Okay, if I had to make a gay synopsis for this movie, my gay synopsis for V for Vendetta would just be: gays destroy fascism and save the world.
Yes. Agree.
Gays against fascism.
That's the thing.
what
It's like yeah, exactly. The original Antifa. But
The OGs.
The OGs. But yes, I mean it's gays against a fascist society.
Yeah.
Right? Like this
Yeah.
like campy, like the mask itself, like the entire character of V, right, is like
Is a lot.
beyond queer, right? Is like
Start with tell me about your experience with the movie. Tell me about
okay.
Tell me about Ellie and V for Vendetta.
Okay, yeah. So I'm pretty sure that I saw it when it came out.
Are you sure? You were young when this came out, right?
I feel like I did see it when it came out, though, or soon after, because I've definitely seen it in a time period that was normal to see it, if that makes sense.
You would have been, what, like 13?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I
At
saw
such
it.
a funny age to see a movie like this, because I feel like it's exactly the age where you'd be like, I get this movie, in a way where you, like, absolutely would not get this movie.
Well, no, here's the thing. That's why I'm going to say, like, I don't think I got it. I do not
Even
think I
me
got
seeing this movie, like, and I was like 18 when this came out, and I was like, I probably did the same thing, where you're like, yeah, rise up, and you're like, you're an idiot.
it. Yeah, like, I did
You're
not understand
just-
it at all. So that's why I'm saying with my brain, I'm like, I remember seeing it, but I couldn't have, like, said to you, like, this is why V for Vendetta is this kind of
Yeah.
film, right? So I saw it when I was really young, didn't really see it since then, and then rewatched it for This Should Have Been Gay, where, of course, like, there's a lot of shit that's happened from 2005 to 2024.
Just so much fascism that has
So
happened, you know?
much.
It's weird.
So much. So
Wild.
yeah, it definitely, like, it hits different. It hits different for sure.
It's funny. I also saw this when it came out. I actually saw it a couple times. I remember watching it more than once, but I don't think I had seen it. Like, yeah, when we rewatched it for this, I'm like, I hadn't seen it in, a decade and a half. Easy. I don't know why. It's funny because I don't think Kelsey had ever seen it, and it had come up here and there where I'd been like, oh my god, we should watch V for Vendetta. Like, it's a great movie. And I don't think she'd ever watched it. And then, yeah, when we decided to do it, I was like, oh, great, we get to watch V for Vendetta. Like, I really enjoyed this movie. But same thing, it's like you watch it now, and it's like watching it in my mid to late 30s in the current political climate that we exist in was not the same as watching it when I was like 20 years old. Like, it hits different now.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same. Plus, watching it now with like our growing experience of our, gay lens on the world and on media and stuff is just, it's different. Watching it now with the experience with the Wachowskis that I have, like,
It's
different
different.
experience.
Yep.
Experience. So I'm excited we get to dive into it. I do think it's different. Again, on the range of like ways we do should have been gays and like types of movies we cover, this will be a little different because it's not based around being like, look at that, those two girls are obviously fucking. It's like
Yeah. It's a little more subtle.
it's a little different. It's a little bit more of the like, it's like a political queer.
Yeah, it's like,
narrative,
yeah, exactly. It's like the queer as an identity, queer as in against the
tyrannical government.
Yeah, against the establishment, right? It's like anti-establishment queer storyline.
What?
Burn this shit down, right?
Should we start with the actual gay of it in some ways? Like, because the thing is it's an interesting should have been gay when it's always interesting to cover movies where like there is gay in it.
Yes.
Like explicit, canonical, like.
Which, like, to be
there
fair,
are
I
gay
feel like
characters.
majority of the Wachowski films do have some sort of gay in them. Like, obviously,
Yes.
like, especially for 2005, they're, like, putting it in as a side plot.
Yeah.
Right? Which is still putting it in.
So I would say there's two sort of like canon queer things. The first of them is her boss, right? The guy who had been her boss, whose name is Gordon. Is that right? He's played by Stephen Fry. I think his name's Gordon.
Yes.
And when she runs away from V and hides with him, right, he takes her into sort of his like bunker where he's like, here's where I hide all of my secret shit from the government. And his secret shit is great and gay, right? So he's like, I have a Quran. And she's like, oh my god, they'd kill you. And then he's like, I also have all these super homoerotic like photos and paintings and stuff. And she's like, what? She's
And
like,
he's
but I had been trying to sleep with you. And he's like, yeah, that was
Exactly.
going to get you nowhere.
yes. And well, I felt like, okay, well, I also felt like she wasn't necessarily trying to sleep with him. I felt like she was.
She wasn't then, but at the very beginning of the movie,
Yeah,
right? Like
there
the,
was,
the
like,
very
rumors
first scene
about
where
the two
she
of them.
gets because she was
because
like on
he was
her way
trying,
to see
yeah,
him.
he was trying to
They
stoke
were
the
flirting,
rumors. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, yeah, they were flirting. Like he was very clearly just being like, "Here's a beard, how convenient."
Yes, exactly.
And...
He was like, "Please be my beard," and she's like,
Right.
"Ha ha." But I don't know. I feel like in the gay
I
reading
have
of,
hair and feminine wiles.
I feel like in the gay reading of this, though, Evie knew she was his beard. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it makes sense that she was like, she also was trying to use him as a beard, and then she was like, "Wait, but you're also gay? Like, you ruined my plan."
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like she was actively really into this man.
Interesting.
That's
I
my-
mean, the pure physical attraction was lacking a little bit. Sure.
Yes.
But so okay, so there's Gordon, and Gordon gets arrested,
Mm-hmm.
right? In that horrible scene where it like mimics exactly what happened to her when she was a kid with her parents, and you're just like, trauma.
Yes.
Oh, Evie, like so sorry
So
about
rough.
your PTSD and this happening. But anyways, so Gordon gets arrested because he did this whole sketch where he absolutely lampoons their the leader, what do they call
Chancellor or
him?
whatever.
Yeah,
I
the
think.
chancellor, whatever. Like they absolutely just drag him through this entire skit, right? Where they make him look ridiculous. And so Gordon gets arrested, almost assuredly killed. I don't think they show it, but there's not much of a question
Yeah.
about the fact that Gordon is no longer with us. So I would say that's like one actual queer element of the story. The other one is that when Evie then gets kidnapped, quote unquote, that night by the High Chancellor's men, and
Yes.
and we learn later has actually been kidnapped by V, that he puts her in this whole jail cell and sort of feeds her this story that I think he says was the real story that like he read, but it's this whole story basically about Valerie, who is this
Who's
lesbian
Yeah.
who was like, hey, I had to like learn about myself and learn about who I loved and like what, and like, you know, sort of like coming to grow into her sexuality, finding someone to fall in love with, falling in love with that woman, building a life with that woman, and then like having that all ripped away again by this like fascist, horrible government, like political machine that takes over their country. And so I want to talk about the Valerie story a little bit more. So I want to acknowledge that it's like Valerie is a lesbian who is in this movie, and we'll get into that. But like I want to talk about Valerie's story a little bit more in the context of Evie when we talk about Evie. But you know, we would be remiss not to mention the actual queer sort of like plots and storylines that are in this, but I still think V for Vendetta could have been
Gayer.
more explicitly gay.
Yes.
Or like had more different gay stuff in it. And I feel like to talk about that, like maybe we start with V, because I feel like the first time in this movie where you're just like, okay, gay, is like that first scene when Evie's trying to like sneak past, the fingermen or whatever, like at night. And they start like, you know, like assaulting her, and then V shows up to save her. I feel like V shows up and you're just like, gay. Like, gay, my guy. Like, that haircut.
Oh yeah, the outfit, the mustache, like perfectly,
Yes.
like whatever's under there. Obviously, like this is like completely burned, deformed, right?
Sure.
Right. However, only a gay person would. You get to choose what that mask looks like, right? You designed that mask to be gay.
It's like there are so many things about V where you're just like, okay, like the sharp bangs, like straight bangs, like all like, but this is sort of like starter mullet, right? Like you're this is like the queer progression to the mullet, where it's like long in the back, harsh bangs in the front. You've got the mask where you're like, Phantom of the Opera vibes on point, right? Like, just
and we all know
feels
Phantom of the
very-
Opera
it's-
gay as
it's so
hell.
yes, it's so dramatic. It's so over the top. The cape, you're like, my guy, who's
the
going
perfectly
around?
coiffed eyebrows. And to be fair, okay, in the context of this movie, like, he is supposed to be Guy Fawkes. So, like, the mask is very specifically intended
I get it. I get it.
to look like this man, but I'm just saying, Guy Fawkes, gay icon.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that
He's dapper.
mustache,
He's a little dandy man. Guy Fawkes is.
exactly.
But there's also certain choices about that Guy Fawkes mask that are like,
Well, yes, when you turn
exceedingly-
Guy Fawkes into a mask, you have turned it into a gay fox mask.
It's a gay fox. He's a gay fox. Okay, get him, boys.
Exactly. And there's also,
He's a
okay,
gay
so in
fox.
that scene too, there's also the les, because I don't know, I read V as queer in some way. Like, I don't know if I'm like saying whatever's under the mask, like there's a woman under the mask, like I don't know, there's a non-binary person under the mask, I don't know, but somehow that is not a cis man
Yes,
under the mask.
V. I'm gonna
You
say
know what I
V
mean?
to me. I do. I would say I would define V as being like gender ambivalent, right?
Yes.
Like, it's there's this, the way that he carries himself, the way that he talks, that, because also, look, that whole first scene when the policemen just keep being like, what the hell? And then he'll answer with like, do you know what it was giving me? It was giving me like Theater Kid.
Oh, for sure.
Where it's just like every time someone talks, he's like, spotlight, stage right. It's my monologue.
yes, it is
Every opportunity.
the most annoying high school theater kid you could ever dream up in your mind, who
I
also
love it,
could
though.
kill you.
I love it so much because it's not just that it's like, and here's my monologue. It's done in such an over the top, unnecessarily dramatic way that he's just like, everyone lets him finish because you can tell they're just kind of like, what? And I feel like in my Theater Kid reading of those scenes, in V's mind, it's like, they're loving me.
Yeah, they are obsessed.
they are obsessed.
They're gonna give
Standing
me, they're gonna give-
ovation
yeah, exactly. Standing
every
ovation at the
time.
end of this.
Yeah.
And then I'll murder you.
Like, every answer takes 5 minutes. Like, there's no
There's no simple answers.
Yeah, no. Like, V is not a person where you could just be like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? And be like, oh, just, like, hang out with some friends. No. You'd be
No.
like, what did you do this weekend? And V is standing there being like, upon the day of Friday morning when I awoke in my cave. Like, it's gonna be like a whole thing. Like, the sun shining, sparkling, some might say. Like, he's
so extra. Like,
so
he's so extra.
And I love it so much. And just all of it together, like that whole package, not straight.
Not
yeah,
straight.
like not straight, not cis, not like, this is
No.
not a cis hetero man.
No.
This is
10,000%
a queer icon. Like, this is basically like the hero of this story is like drag, right? I'm like, put some eyeshadow on that mask, like a little sparkle, a little like
I mean, I would not be surprised if you had like a and also, like, I feel like every time they bring like the mask back around too, I feel like they're like using it in like such a campy way, right? But I would not be surprised if you had like a burlesque troupe, like just wearing the masks and titty tassels, and they're just dancing like that, and V would be like, "This is what I intended."
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Someone please make that happen. Do you have a burlesque troupe?
Oh, I bet you $1
some
million.
gay
That's, I feel like in 2005, there was a burlesque troupe wearing those masks and twirling their tits.
Why has a gay fox troupe not happened yet?
I
That's my
don't
question.
know. I don't know.
Someone give this to us. Also, can I just tell you, because I think this is in that same scene where I have a note. I just wrote down in my notes, because I think that's the scene where he opens his jacket and he just has like like pounds of bombs strapped to himself. Is that in that scene or is that somewhere else? I don't remember.
I don't know.
I remember there's one scene where he opens his shirt up and he just has like a full vest of bombs strapped to him, and I just wrote down the note like bomb vest. He's so dramatique. Like he is just just the ways
really is.
The ways in which he's always like, "Oh, are you bored of me stabbing you now?" Like here's my bombs strapped to me. Like it's so
He's like, you will die, but I will
extra.
entertain you. Like your last moments will be entertaining, and this is my purpose as a theater kid murderer, to entertain you before you die.
Literally, is there a better way to go, right?
No.
Like, is being killed by V sort of the top notch,
The pinnacle
getting
of
murdered
murder.
death?
Yeah. It is. It is.
Peak murder vibes is what we're saying. Okay,
Peak murder V.
He's really, really got it. That's one thing. The other thing I want to talk about with V is sort of like the V origin story, because like obviously it's horrible,
Dark.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's dark and terrible, and like basically V's whole backstory. I mean, again, if you haven't watched the movie, maybe watch the movie, because we're not doing like a deep plot review for anyone, but basically the way that this fascist government came into power is they sort of engineered a chemical attack on the country that killed lots of people, and then they used that fear to begin their climb into power by preying on people's fears and promising them safety. Okay, so V was problematic because V was immune to that chemical agent, right? And so it sort of became, they were doing these studies first, and V was sort of this weird anomaly in this study. Well, so there was a fire, and I think the idea is that V started
Set
the
the fire. Yeah.
Right?
V started it.
V
set
started the
to
fire,
entire,
and then also was not killed by the fire. So V basically has this, V's like Wolverine, right?
Yes.
Like, so V was in this facility that burned down, got horrifically burned in this like secret experimental like detention facility, right? And sort of like had all of these weird, like he was stronger and faster and like not susceptible to so many of these things. So ton of people die in this fire. V makes it out and then basically dedicates his life to like building this whole thing such that he can hunt down, murder everyone that was involved with this secret facility that he was held in, and all of this secret testing and all of this, you know, sort of like false flag attack on the country. So his whole plan is basically just like hunt everyone who was involved with this down, kill them, take down the government, and like and spark this revolution.
Them also expose them for what they did.
And expose them for what they did.
And I will say too, this place is called Lark Hill Resettlement Camp.
Okay.
And Lark Hill is basically like a concentration camp, right? And the only people that they even put into Lark Hill were the people on the outskirts of society.
Yeah.
So, right, Black people, Jewish people, people who oppose the government.
Queers,
right?
Yeah.
That's where I was getting, right? And
Yeah.
queers, which is why you have Valerie's
And the
whole story.
gays.
She was one
Right.
of the lesbians who was put in there. I would not be surprised if V was one of the queer people that they put in there. Like, I don't know what other origin V would have had to be in this facility.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to say V has been queer, and that's why they even got put into Lark Hill.
So, okay, so I do just want to talk a little bit about, again, any time you have a character whose whole backstory is basically like, hey, I became who I am through this transformative trial by fire. In this case, literally, not always.
Fire, yeah.
Literal fire for V. Ideally, less literal fire for many other gays, but it's just like anytime you have someone who is just like, hey, I wasn't who society wanted me to be, and they couldn't break me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they
couldn't break me, and on top of that, I am going to break the fuck out of all of them.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
I will bring them back.
Which, again, feels very, like, gay audacity, okay? Yeah. So, yeah, like, V basically being like, hey, you put me in here. Like, I think he already had amnesia while he was there. Like, which is why they didn't have a name for him, right? Like, he just had, like, the number on his door. He doesn't know his name. All he knows is he was...
Patient number 5.
Patient number 5, which was a V on the door. So that's why he goes by V. So I just feel like, again, listen, it's like you have a dead name that is literally dead. You have a new adopted name. You have the, like, hey, like, I was outside of society and you only made me stronger. Like, just all of these things that to me, just that type of path always reads as gay, you know? Like, just always feels a little queer-coded to me. So, okay, that's what I want to say about V. I want to, let's take a quick break, and then I want to dive into Evie.
Hey, do you like true crime? Me too. And I know what you're thinking. There's so many true crime pods out there, you've already heard all the stories. Well, what if I were to tell you you're wrong? I'm Leroy Luna, the host of Excuse Me, That's Illegal, the podcast that takes a hardcore look at softcore crime. I've got a back catalog of hundreds of bizarre and hilarious stories just waiting to be heard by you. So come join me. Excuse Me, That's Illegal is available anywhere you get your favorite podcasts, with new episodes dropping on the 10th, 20th, and 30th every month, baby!
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone, so we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural Then and Now.
There's a lot going on right now. Mounting economic inequality, threats to democracy, environmental disaster, the sour stench of chaos in the air. I'm Brooke Gladstone, host of WNYC's On the Media. Want to understand the reasons and the meanings of the narratives that led us here, and maybe how to head them off at the pass? That's On the Media's specialty. Take a listen wherever you get your podcasts.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all. I'm JJ.
Hey, guys. It's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
Okay, let's talk about Evie, because Natalie Portman in this also, I mean, like, we just talked about V's journey.
Oh, Natalie Portman as Evie is such a transformation. I mean, if we just talk about the most basic transformation, which is the hair, which is just like the most obvious gay, right? Like, she had long hair. By the end, because she goes through all these trials that V puts her through, she gets her head shaved. So by the end, she looks like the little lesbian that we all knew she was.
Yeah.
But there's so much other shit in between. But I'm like, just the physical transformation is like, oh, I'm cute and pretty and feminine. And then she's like, fuck everything. I have my like buzz cut. And I'm also ready to burn down the system. And to be fair, like Evie from the beginning, she's slightly less, and I mean, she's a part of the establishment in a way, right? She works for the like news station that like is spreading propaganda and like telling their audiences like what they should believe, blah, blah, blah. But V recognizes in her that she's outside of society. Like, we wouldn't have quite recognized it, I don't think, from the beginning, right? Like, I feel like they made a conscious choice to have Evie's character not be like, from the beginning, you're like, this is an anti-establishment person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She is just going along with her life and like living in this society. There's definitely some like hints at it, but she's not V. Right?
Yeah.
And I feel like V sees in her, number one, the gay shit, and number two, just being outside of society. And then we do find out that like Evie's parents were radicals. They both got killed. Like, she comes from a long line of anti-establishment.
Evie's parents would have loved their little lesbian daughter. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay? For sure.
For sure. I think, I mean, it's also, I love like some of the things from the beginning where like you can see V being an extra person and also being so into like the literary stuff. Like when Evie introduces herself and it's like E-V, like it just all makes sense, you know? Like, it all makes sense. And then, yeah, I think that, like, Evie, like, again, haircut scenes, just gay. Like, that is a gay rebirth, you know? You get your first gay haircut, and, like, she went hard on hers, you know? Like, we went full buzz cut.
She went in.
Yes, we did the full Sinead, and it looks great. Like, good choice.
Oh my god, it is so Sinead.
Well, and there's certain things too where it's like that haircut in the context of the movie, like, ties her to Valerie, right? Like, the person that we see physically that she resembles the most is Valerie with that haircut, and your girl gay.
I know. Well, also it's like, okay, if we want to talk about Valerie, it's also like her response to Valerie. She reads all of these things, right? And they, number one, like, give her strength in a way, like, because this whole thing, right, is like, she thinks she has been captured by Fingerman. Right. This whole time, she thinks she's been captured by the Fingerman. She thinks that, like, this is it, it's over, like, they shaved her head, like, they're abusing her, they're not feeding her, like, they want her to give up V. And while she's doing that, V, this is all orchestrated by V. V also makes sure she reads this letter from Valerie, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a coincidence,
right,
that she reads a lesbian letter and is like, I can't believe they did this to lesbians. Like, fuck no, I will not. Like, the amount of strength that she gets inside of her to, like, not give up V directly correlated to her reading a lesbian love story.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That shit's gay.
Well, and also, like, doesn't he show her a picture and she's like, wow, like, she's beautiful. Like, doesn't he have a picture of Valerie from, like, one of her films or something? Yeah. And, right, I mean, it's just, like, her response to Valerie's whole story, all of this stuff, like, her response to reading things about, like, someone writing about the realization of, like, how what was different became dangerous and, like, all of this stuff, you know, and I'm like, things like that, like, sentences like that hit home when you're different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there has to be something in you that you're like, wait a minute, this is about me. This is about me.
It's not like, I get that we can argue that people have empathy, but not to that degree.
No.
Right? You can be, if you're that empathetic towards a lesbian love story, it's because you see some of yourself in it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
10,000%.
man. There's something going on. And even just, like, I feel like V and Evie, like, their interactions, like, the times where I read V as the most, like, gender questionable, gender uncertain, like, kind of more into the feminine side is when V is interacting with Evie.
Yes.
You know, like, I feel like Evie sort of then, like, leans into this very, like, queer energy to me in those conversations and stuff, and it just like it really changes that dynamic between them in a way that also reads as very like, oh, now it's two queer people who both know they're queer interacting.
You think after we have this whole shaving of the head that if it gets more queer?
I think it gets more queer. Because, like, you know how it is? Like, okay. I feel like queer people, like, we understand that sometimes when queer people, like, when you're having a conversation with a straight person, it's not the same. Right? Yeah. And sometimes you're having a conversation with a straight person and you're like, oh, honey. But, like, you know it, but you know they don't know it yet. You know? And you know, like, you know how we navigate those interactions versus how when it's, like, just a bunch of queers.
Yes. And so you feel like,
out.
okay, so the beginning, we have V sort of talking to Evie and, like, trying to be like, honey, do you understand these things about yourself yet? And then V's like, let me put you through this super abusive experiment. And after I abuse you...
I mean, yeah, it's
we can
not
decide,
great.
After you've gone through all that shit and read this lesbian letter, then we can finally talk like, oh my God, thank God you know.
Is this a metaphor for your first toxic relationship when you come out?
Yes. This is the definition of like wide-eyed baby gay and like seasoned gay who's like, I'm gonna teach you all about killing people.
Ladies, if your first girlfriend is locking you in a jail cell and not feeding you,
it's not right.
Maybe break up. Maybe she's not the one. Okay. just a PSA.
And I don't think this is telling a story of like I say about V and Evie because I'm like I see some queer shit going between the two of them and they do sort of lean into like a little bit of a romantic situation between the two of them, but I feel like V was meant to break Evie out of her straightness.
Yes.
Be like, okay, I don't believe that Evie and V should be together because what V did to Evie was so fucked up. But and also V's dead at the end, right? Yeah. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, it does matter, but spoiler.
But if you think about
you
think about it from like an imagery perspective though, right? Like, okay, let's ignore the like obvious abuse of that one person is inflicting on another person. If you just think about it in the sense of like a coming out journey, the imagery of having Evie with the you know, buzz cut, shaved head, locked up, like shoved down, like we're gonna lock you up and forget about you and try to break you until you die, until you go away, right?
Yep.
And that part of her being like, no, I will get stronger, I will get out. Like, and because V doesn't let her go basically until she gets to the point where she's like, no, actually, you can kill me, but I will still be this. Yep. Like, you cannot take this part of me away. This part of me is more important than staying alive without this, right?
Yes.
And like that journey, outside of the context of like what's happening in the movie, that journey to me feels so symbolic of like a lot of people's coming out journeys, you know, like of just a lot of people having this moment of having to be like, yeah, here's this part of me that I have tried to like shove deep down in a dark cell where I don't think about it and I don't look at it and I don't give it any sunlight or happiness or joy or like, you know, just I don't feed it. I don't give, like, I give it nothing. And that piece of you being like, nope, you cannot be you without me, right?
Yep.
Like, this is the most important thing. And that's kind of what Evie realizes is like, there is something more important than just being alive. There is something more important than just going to work and having a job and making my money and paying my rent and buying food. Like, that's not what matters. What matters is being true to myself, being true to who I am. And what made me realize that is this like beautiful lesbian who wrote this whole love story
saga about her love story, and she wishes she could be the one in the love story. And so she's like, fuck it, either I die or I'm gonna be gay outside of here.
Yeah. I mean, I just like I feel like Evie's story is so gay. And I feel like there are certain things about, like, just, it's so overt in some ways, especially in the ways that are, like, so much more obvious now in the kind of, like, Christo-fascist world that we're currently existing in. But it's, like, the fact that Norsefire, like, their sort of political group, right? Like, their whole logo is basically, like, it's a cross. No, there's an extra line. It's not like a Christian cross. There's, like, they have, like, 2 lines, so it's different.
Yes.
But you're like, it's a cross. Like, you just have this obvious design choice. You have this obvious, like, the censorship, they have a whole thing, right? Like, when she's with Gordon and he's hiding all his stuff, and they mention that, like, the people that would, like, hunt him down is, like, the Ministry of Objectionable Materials, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I mean, you could not more obviously be trying to call attention to, like, I mean, listen, like, we are existing in a world right now, like, in our country, where we are facing, like, massive movements for, like, book bans, right?
Censorship,
and, like,
yeah.
and censorship and, like, surveillance. Like, what fucking state is it right now that's is it Kansas that's having this thing where they're like, oh, they're trying to crack down on age verification on websites, where and they literally said where it's basically like any material that they consider unsuitable for, like, 18 and under youth,
Yeah.
like, has to have an age verification, and to them, unsuitable
Is
or
gay.
objectional is,
Yeah.
like, anything sexual, anything gay, anything, like, right? So I'm like, we're literally living this right now. Like, we're sort of on the first steps of, not even the first, like, a few steps down the road to this nightmare, you know? And so, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I feel like it's not subtle. This is not like a heavily veiled allegory for what's happening. This is basically like, hey, Christo-fascism is bad. You should rise up against it, especially when you're gay. Especially you gays.
And especially
But
when you're gay, and especially when you're written by the Wachowski sisters. And
Yes,
especially when you're like, yes, murder them in the most campy way possible. Like, it's gay.
I love it. But that's why I feel like it is disappointing to me that neither V or Evie were explicitly made gay in this movie. And that's why I feel like I categorize it as a should have been gay, because I think, so there's this one quote, I can't remember who says it, probably V says it, but I feel like there's this quote in the movie where they say, like, a revolution without dancing is a revolution that's not worth having.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, to me, I feel like this revolution without gays is a revolution not worth having. Like, if you ask me, in this movie, the people who drive a literal huge fucking bomb into Parliament and, like, kick off this massive protest movement against Christo-fascism, they should be queer. They
queer.
should be explicitly queer. I wish they had been more explicitly. Like, I know that we can look at this and say all the reasons why we're like, they're so obviously queer.
It's, like, very obviously subtext, but not subtext. But it's like,
yes.
But also, you had text. So, like, if you wanted to make them actually textually queer, you could have done it in a similar way that you did with the other gay characters in this movie.
Yeah. And especially because, like, even in Death, like, the fact that V rigged up this whole fucking thing to kill Creedy and then have his body in a giant bomb train that goes and explodes Parliament, and as it explodes there's just, like, fanfare music and this giant V firework, like, red V fireworks. I'm like, even in Death,
this
you
man
are
is
so
camp.
Just
So
listen,
gay.
I'm gonna say it again, dramatique. It is
Dramatique.
just, like, so over the top. It's so extra. It's so campy. I love it so much. But I'm like, that's a gay icon. Like, that's a gay icon doing this, you know?
Agreed.
I just think it should have been. That's all.
Ready for our Q and Gay, Leigh?
I'm ready.
Q and gay.
Question number 1. Who is gayer, AV or Evie?
That's so hard. I think I have to go with V because I think Evie's just, you know, newer on her journey.
She's new. She's fresh.
Yeah.
V's
a little baby
seasoned.
gay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
A well-spiced gay, you know?
Yes.
So I'm going to go with V, yeah. Question 2, Ellie. What's the campiest thing about V? Out of A, the outfit, B, the monologues, C, the fanfare music, or D, the roses?
I have to say B, the monologues.
Yeah.
Those are like, it just makes VV. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Like anyone could wear the outfit. Anyone could give, you know what I mean? Anyone could play some music, but like the monologues, that's it. All right, question number 3. What would you hide from the Ministry of Objectionable Materials? A, other religious texts, B, hot queer art, or C, sex toys?
Man, tough question. Because it's like, I feel like whatever, I'm sure they did like a mass burning of sex toys at some point, and that would just
be depressing. I know.
Yeah, it'd be hard.
Just
but
really
listen,
hurt.
I know we love a visual on a podcast, but I'm just gonna pan my little camera up to what I call my wall of lesbians. I would hide this wall of lesbians from all fascists. Listen, I would build myself a little cave and take all my gay artwork on my walls and build myself a little gay cave of art downstairs. No question.
It's who you are.
Yeah. Okay, question 4. What gay haircut would you rock out of A, the V bangs, B, the Sinead full buzz cut, C, a full mullet, or D, wolf cut?
What's the wolf cut?
The wolf cut is kind of like the shaggy, it's like, it's not a mullet. You haven't seen wolf cuts? Oh, wolf cuts are everywhere right now.
Is it what Kristen Stewart is using right now?
Yes. I don't know if I've seen what their hair is at the moment, but yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It's like not mullety, it's kind of like textured more. It's a little more gradual, but it's sort of it's got that like the shaggy, like shorter, like longer textured bangs kind of more than, you know.
I think I would just have to go with the wolf cut because the V bangs are not going to hang on me. I cannot do a tiny bang.
Yeah, not with your hair.
The Sinead, I like having my hair long too much. Like, I cannot buzz this thing off. And a mullet would just hurt my soul. So I have to go with D.
Yeah, I go wolf cut.
The wolf cut.
I look forward to what I anticipate soon will be a movement pressuring you to actually do a wolf cut.
Oh, God. Godspeed,
to be fair,
everyone.
I think a wolf cut would be hard with your hair as well.
Yeah, it'd be tough. All of them are tough. I like how my hair is, all right? People, don't pressure me. All right.
Pressure her.
Question number 5. What's your favorite V for Vendetta scene? A, opening fight, B, the Fawkes crowd, C, V fencing, or D, the final fight?
I think I have to go with that opening fight. It's just so extra for me. I feel like that is like peak V, just being like ridiculous. It's ludicrous, and I kind of love it.
It sets the scene. It just shows you how freaking gay this film is gonna get. You know, like you know what you're getting from the beginning.
Yeah,
love it. What a ride! What a ride!
I'm so glad we finally got around to doing this. I'm dying to know people's thoughts, and I'm dying to know, especially from anyone who read the graphic novel. Yeah. I'll have to look into it.
Give us your thoughts, everyone.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 well, yeah.
We love hearing from all of you. We love continuing to build this community. So we just want to shout out some of our favorite things every episode. Starting with some Instagram shout outs because, you know, listen, I think many of you liked the Quiz Lady episode, as we did as well. So we want to shout out Ghost, who responded to one of our Instagram quotes about making Sandra Oh gay with yes, them being a perfect match. Love it. And also Libby Ferg, who said they loved that movie so much, which same, such a good movie. Once again, if you have not watched Quiz Lady yet, please go watch it. It's so fucking funny. But also that they think it should have been gayer, and we agree. Correct.
We agree.
You're correct.
You are so correct. Another post that people were really loving is about First Kill. So I know we're bringing it back, but Leigh was saying that someday when I have nothing but time on my hands, I will write a whole dissertation on why First Kill was great, actually. And we had a lot of people comment on that, so I'm just going to shout out a few of them who agree. Big First Kill fans were still disappointed that it got canceled after season 1. Orlando Sooner, Jess Jax, Travel Fanatic, and Common Violet House all were saying, we agree. Bring first kill back.
I should write that dissertation, I think, is the main answer.
You've got the audience for it, Leigh. You do.
I will listen, I will die on that hill. Is it a good show? No, it's a great show. That's all.
That's it.
As always, we want to thank our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Mark Foster,
Lizette Stye,
Adi Benitez,
Sophia Phillips,
and Armani Gucci.
And our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen.
And Andrea Doucette. Thank you all so much. We could not keep doing this show without you and without the support of all of our patrons.
Remember, you can find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at Lez Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at lezhangoutpod@gmail.com.
Or you can check out our website at lezhangoutpod.com.
Whatever app you use for podcasts, make sure that you subscribe. That way you'll be the first to get new episodes as soon as they go up.
We're also posting videos on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/lezhangoutpod to catch them.
Lez Hang Out is an independently produced show. It's hosted by us. Our audio production is done by Ellie. Our production assistant is Krista Murison. And all other shenanigans are done by me.
If you want to support the podcast, the easiest way is to rate and review us on iTunes. We love hearing what you have to say.
If you want to support us financially, it is one of the easiest ways to get access to so much cool stuff. You get access to all of our bonus Patreon episodes, access to our Discord chat, all sorts of fun perks that you can find at our Patreon. You can join at bit.ly/lezpatreon.
If you want to get some Lez Hang Out merch, you can get that at bit.ly/lezshop. It is the perfect time to get it, so you have all of your gay designs ready for Pride.
Remember, we also have a queer production company making queer podcast musicals with guaranteed happy endings that you can find everywhere at Dollar Bean Prod.
Or at our website, dollarbeanproductions.com.
You can listen to all of the episodes of our first show, The Flame. They are up on every podcasting app. You can also listen to the very full, complete first run of Journey to the Heart. So again, it's not every possible path through the story, but the path that everyone chose this time is all finished. You can find it everywhere you listen to podcasts.
And if you want to help support us in making more musicals, you can join our Patreon at bit.ly/dollarbeanpatreon.
If you want to follow us individually, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at LSH Foster.
And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Ellie Brigida. With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Leigh. And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Listening to a podcast should be time well spent, and I promise it will be if you'll give this podcast a try. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in every episode, I talk with leading experts on topics I know you will find fascinating. From why people can't keep secrets, what your favorite music says about you, why your pet acts in strange ways, and so much more. Something You Should Know is designed to give you information you can use in your life and give you great intel that you can share with others. I'm told it's a binge-worthy podcast, and with over 1,000 episodes, there's a lot to binge on. Something You Should Know has been ranked in the top of the Apple Podcast charts consistently for a long time. I know you're going to like this. I just need to get you to try it. Something You Should Know. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.